Thank you for tuning in. Let me just get my iPad squared away here. Give me 1 second, everyone. They'll give you a minute to come on in. Lordy, lordy. And they're making me watch a commercial. Okay. Let's see, who's here already? Let's see. Hello, Betsy, Gloria, Pama, Zula, Nancy, Kate, Leslie, Teresa, welcome. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Monday. We're in for a heat wave here in Mass. It's going to be in the 90s for, I think 3 days, today, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So if you hear my air conditioning running, there is not much I can do about it. I do apologize for the camera angle. YouTube took away again my ability to go horizontally to do the landscape mode. Like I say, YouTube giveth and they taketh away. They did give it back to me at one point and then now they took it away again. So my apologies that we are in portrait mode. Just gonna let everybody come on in. Thank you, Becky. Macy's was having a sale. Love shopping. Hello, Roberta, Jules, our Santa, Vivian, Melinda. Hello, Carol, Ann, Nancy, Valerie, Personal Transformation. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Kim. Teresa says it's unbearable in Tampa, Florida. Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm complaining up here in Massachusetts, but yeah, I can only imagine. Oh, Zeta, I've missed you. Members, you have a ton of new videos coming out this week. You have a new Law of One class, all about the Easter Island stone statues. I think that'll be really cool. And also how to do the tapping EFT technique for specifically for anxiety and stress. And then you have the spirit animal class coming out next weekend, and the weekend after that is the channeling. So lots of good stuff coming out. Did I put the link for membership? Yes, if you want to become a member, just hit the box underneath. It's there. And I do have some openings for readings in August. If you want that, DianaAquarius.com. And it's Diana with 2 N's, if anybody wants a reading. Oh, let's see. You are from Lynn? Well, I am in Salem. Like I've told everybody, I've moved to Salem. Which city, right? So, as I had predicted, J.D. Vance was named vice president. That is who I predicted. I did predict that when I was collaborating with Andre. I think I've done it in a solo video. I put it remember in the community tab, one time I came out of meditation and I said, 45 is going to pick a white male that's half his age. And J.D. Vance is 39, 45 is 78. So far I've never gotten a candidate wrong. Fingers crossed, right? You gotta stay humble doing this. Oh, I missed you, Mojo. Hey, Tara. Okay, so let's get into this. Everyone's here. So first of all, you know, I think the young man that did the shooting fits that stereotypical profile, doesn't he? Young, angry, white male, I guess labeled as a bit of a misfit, bullied. Nobody sat with him at lunch. He had a really difficult job. I have helped out in kitchens in nursing homes, and he was a dietary aide in a nursing home, and I'll tell you, that is a difficult job. If I dare say so, it's soul sucking. I mean, it's hot, it's dirty, it's gross, and you got to be fast. It's a miserable job. The gun was purchased legally by his dad. I don't think that this was planned out overly well by him. I mean, he didn't even buy the bullets until the day of. And he didn't arrive early. There was nothing stealthy about what he did. I question his ability to plan and come up with strategies. And, so then you have to ask yourself, well, how did this happen, right? And one thing that I think that we can glean from this is that law enforcement really doesn't listen to us, do they? How many videos have we all seen now of all these people yelling and shouting that this guy is scaling the building? That old saying, if you see something, say something? Well, they were saying something, but they're just regular civilians, right? And so they were dismissed. And I think that's a big problem. And I'll give you kind of just a personal example. They were in front of my house. They were digging up the road to get to the pipes underneath. And it was a nice day. I had my window open. And there was 2 construction workers going at it. One was operating a piece of heavy equipment that was digging up the road. And he was saying horrible things to the other construction worker, actually threatening to kill him, okay? And I was like, am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? So I'm standing there listening. And I go down there, and I'm like, where's the officer? Well, he's down the road chatting up a female officer who's sitting in an SUV. And I said, excuse me, officer, but this is what I just heard. I said, can't you hear this fight? Whatever. He goes, they're brothers. That's just how they are. And I said, well, I think that one's drunk. And he's operating that piece of equipment. It literally didn't give me the time of day. I had to call the station, speak to a sergeant. And you know what? They actually shut down the whole operation that day, and I never saw that officer again. They pulled the officer, they pulled the construction workers. Why aren't we listened to? And, why did I have to go to the length of, there's 2 officers right there that could see and hear everything that I was, saying to them, right? But yeah, I was being ignored. And these people were saying, look, there's a guy scaling the building. And nobody cared, right? So that's something that we have to address, that, us regular civilians do matter. And, we should be heard when we see something and say something, okay? Mojo says, yeah, she's been stopped for the last year and the police did nothing to help. Right, because they'll always say it's not criminal unless you actually say get shot or something, right? They'll say it's a civil matter. And that's the problem. Audrey says no one listens. Yes. Tamlin says, I think some people just don't care. Right. Well, I do. I do care about these things. And I did care about that other construction worker. I was fearful for him. That was scary, right? So I think that's one of the lessons that we can definitely get from this, is that we do need to be listened to and taken seriously when we make a report to law enforcement. That would have prevented all of this, actually. Not to mention if they had just scoped out that area better, an ounce of prevention, right? But I guess hindsight, whatever. If you remember in my predictions for 2024 video, I said that there would be an escalation of gun violence this year. Because I know a lot of you had asked me, do I see it going down? Do I see it getting better? And I said, no, I actually see it getting worse this year. The 2 things I see getting worse this year, gun shootings and the weather. Okay. And so far, unfortunately, both are coming true. And the reason with the guns is because we're not getting it as a collective here in the US, right? We're not getting it. The country isn't getting it as a whole. You know, the Republican Party is bought and paid for by the NRA. And so things don't change. I mean, this young man was a registered Republican. He belonged to a far-right group. And if you check out their YouTube channel, it is frightening. I've actually reported some of the videos. I didn't realize YouTube allowed videos like that, because he had that t-shirt on, you know, from that YouTube channel and whatnot. Really disturbing. Some of those videos, and they have like millions of followers. So they're making a lot of money. So, I mean, that's an issue right there. I'm just looking at your comments too. Okay. The gun was legally purchased. Okay. So this wasn't, you know, something that was stolen. You know, this was something that his dad had. This was a legally purchased gun. This young man also belonged to apparently one of like the best gun ranges around in the tri-state area. Even though he was not a good shot, apparently, right? That he did not, I didn't even know this existed. Being a New Englander in Massachusetts, I did not know this existed, but his high school had a rifle team and he didn't make it. He was a poor shot. And so I do think that, yes, he did shoot off bullets. I do. I do not believe 45 was hit with a bullet. The size of those bullets are insane, you know. And if your ears are delicate, it would have looked very different. So no, I do believe that the teleprompter was hit and it got him. And I do think that that was real. Now, here is something that I'm going to just share with you. When I was watching it, here is the one thing that really struck me, and I had to go into meditation and really talk to my guides about this, because this is what I struggled with. The people did not act correctly to that situation. And what I mean by that is we all have fight or flight within us. And some people have fright. I'm more of a fright person. But you react, right? I mean, if bullets are flying, you're going to like head for the hills or duck for cover. So many of them just sat there. And I was watching it and so many of them stood. They stood up. And they interviewed, I saw an interview with some of those that stood up. And they said, oh, well, we wanted to protect our president. And it's like, okay, first of all, he's not anybody's president. He's an ex-president. But it just freaked me out, because I was like, that goes against everything that's in, like, I mean, that's your brainstem, okay? Your brainstem controls that, right? That fight or flight. And those that didn't duck, right? They didn't try to get down. And, you know, one of them even said like they were standing in defiance. And so I talked to my guides. I said, this just does not seem right. This goes against human nature at its core. And what my guides said was, this is a cult, and they are completely brainwashed. They are brainwashed to the point that they're almost like robots, some of them. Not all of them, of course. And I think some of them will wake up and, you know, they will experience an awakening of some sort spiritually. But some of them, they're so deeply brainwashed, it's scary. It's scary that they're actually able to overcome their brain. I never knew that could happen. And I found that so deeply disturbing that we have that many people in our country that is following a cult that is led by a madman, someone that's not in his right mind. You know, and say what you want about Biden, but Biden has never asked for violence. And he immediately, you know, made public announcements, you know, condemning the act. And, you know, he did call 45. And Dr. Joe Biden did call Melania, you know. The class and dignity that so many of the Democrats showed was, I thought, really beautiful. They took the higher road. Nancy Pelosi, you know, she was so mocked after her husband was attacked. And yet, you know, she had nothing but compassion. I'm just looking at your comments. Do I think attendance at his rallies will go down? Well, here's the thing. I think overall they have gone down. You know, he doesn't draw the crowds that he used to. You know, I think, and actually, and I know some of you are looking at this in a very different way. I am looking at this as this ensures Biden wins. And, oh, the other thing I wanted to say too is, yes, I do think Biden's going to win. That is my prediction. I stand by that. I said that forever ago. I do believe Kamala will be the vice president. I do believe he'll keep her. And I do maintain, because I know I kind of wavered a little bit at one point, but I'm going to maintain that she is going to, oh, I got a fly in here with me, that she is going to stay as vice president. There will be a point that Biden needs to step aside. For how long, I don't know, but she will be our first female president. That is my prediction, and I stand by that. So let me see, what else do I want to talk about? I did want to say my condolences to the firemen. You know, there was a fireman there that did pass. He was shielding his family. You know, he used his body as a shield, and he did pass. And I do feel sorry for the two people that were injured. You know, so these things do have actual consequences. But I do believe that it was real. And I think I told you guys back in that 2024 video, and for those of you that are members that follow my raw channelings, there's going to be these catalysts, these things that keep happening that are forcing us to wake up and make changes, right? Because nothing would have changed if he was, say, some radical left-winger, right, that they could, you know, put that label onto. Then nothing would have changed, but this is one of their own. And everybody that was around him said that even though there was a lot of kids in his school that were quite liberal, he maintained his extremely conservative values. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. I thought we would pull some cards though. I'm just looking at what this young man's actual motivation was. I'm not convinced it was political. I'm not sure. The other thing I will say is, let's all watch out for the newest grift, right? Because there will be a grift. If he does do a fundraiser for these families, you know they're not seeing it. They're never going to get that money. But I don't know. Maybe he'll be hawking golden ears. I don't know. But what is this young man's? What was this young man's motivation? I'm going to pull the cards and then I'll do the interpretation. Page of Cups. Obstacle. Oh, interesting. I'm going to have to look deeper at that one. King of Cups. Ace of Swords. Knight. Lots of swords here. Three of Wands. Three of Swords, and the as I was doing it, the Seven of Swords fell out. And I just want to clarify the King of Cups, because as you know, that is my Biden card, but it can also mean extreme emotions too, right? I don't believe that he donated to Act Blue. I do believe that there was that 69-year-old man had the same name that donated, because he would have been a 17-year-old boy, not old enough to even vote, but he's donating to a party that has beliefs that he doesn't share in. That's one thing I don't believe in. I don't believe he actually did that. I do believe in that idea that it was actually a different person with the same name. Okay, so now this actually has nothing to do with Biden. I just wanted to double check. All right, so first of all, I'm thinking, Page of Cups. This is someone that never had real friends, never had a girlfriend, didn't have either the ability or the opportunities to express love, friendship, have those good times, those meaningful connections, okay? Obstacle, King of Cups, not having emotions that are in check. And when I looked, I pulled, Five of Swords, so he was really at odds with his emotions. Queen of Swords, as the obstacle, that means he would overthink, overanalyze, kind of go around and around in his head. So, this is suggesting mental illness. Three of Cups is also was an obstacle for him. So not having those good times with friends. So a real sense of loneliness. I do believe he thought that he was going to get away with it. I think he thought that this would end differently than how it did. Maybe he was looking to be that hero, right? To get some kind of recognition. Somebody that has been ignored and put down his whole life thought, oh, this is my big chance to actually get recognized. I really praise those schools that do things like they have the benches outside at recess where you can sit if you have nobody to talk to and somebody will come along, like those friendship benches. And I've heard of schools that have those tables in the cafeteria that you can sit at if you don't have somebody to sit with you, because we do need some human interaction, right? Even if you're introverted, it's nice to at least have a friend, right? Everybody needs somebody to talk to. And so I think this is also a lesson that we can learn from this, that teachers, guidance counselors, principals, those people, not just do they need to recognize when this is happening, but they need the tools and resources to do something about it, okay? Ace of Swords. This was somehow, in his mind, his way of speaking his truth, okay? Getting his message out there. And yeah, he did take action, didn't he? He scaled right up there. I don't think I could have done what he did. This was something that, it's something that he had planned, but I don't know how well he really planned it either. He was somebody that was kind of stuck perpetually waiting for his ship to come in. Kind of like this lost soul, just waiting for something to happen. And he was just brokenhearted. He was somebody that was grief struck, somebody that was just depressed and miserable, and and educating parents and giving parents the resources and tools to do something. Because they must have known something was off with their son, right? Instead of just saying, well, that's how he is. Was he, okay. Summer asks, was he advised or encouraged? Let me tell you something that I got. I'm so grateful that you asked that. Because as it was happening, I was asking, well, why is he doing it? And I'm sitting there watching TV, pulling my cards. And I kept getting something about foreign influence, foreign influence, foreign influence. And so that was one of the things that I had to go into meditation to look at. I was like, well, what's this foreign influence? I don't think he's like some kind of Russian spy. And what I got from my guides is that countries like Russia and China are getting into our social media and planting ideas. You know, they're giving people that are not balanced, that are not well, some pretty nasty ideas. And so I think we need to really look at that, you know, look at these, you know, foreign countries that just want the worst for us. You know, I mean, Russia came right out, you know, like condemning Biden for this, right? Vlad himself had, I mean, Vlad, who was literally an assassin, had something negative to say about Biden. And I mean, like, are you serious? And so I really feel like he was influenced by social media. I do believe that once they really dig into, they do have his phone, by the way, and they are digging through it, and they're saying that they're even going to pull up the stuff that's deleted. That when they do that, it's going to become apparent how much social media like really affected him. Melinda says he didn't have a social media presence. Just because he didn't have a presence. For instance, I have plenty of family members that have social media accounts, but they never, ever, ever post a thing. They'll go on Facebook all day. There's never a post. They'll watch YouTube, never hit a like button or leave a comment. So did he have a presence? No. Did he, you know, leave a manifesto and make these crazy videos? No. But was he on there? Absolutely. That is one thing I feel absolutely certain about. JT, yeah, in the past, Vlad might have said he preferred Biden, but no. Because 45 owes him so much, he needs 45 to win the election. He won't, but he needs him to. Yeah, Elaine says he was a brainwashed, vulnerable kid. I agree. Hey, Vicky. Well, that's true too, Elaine. He could have an account under a false name. You know, like something that I do as a social media person, I have like dummy accounts because if I didn't, I couldn't check my own work, you know, because if I go in and if I go in as Diane Aquarius into my YouTube channel, then I'm seeing it as Diane Aquarius, the creator. So like, yeah, I have a dummy account, you know, just a random name that I can go in as like Joe Schmo and see it. But I've never like posted anything. I just, so like, sometimes you guys will say to me things like, you know, I can't see that you posted this, or, you know, no, that's not visible. And that's when I say, no, I checked. I know it is. Because I do use those accounts. Yeah, Sarah, YouTube does keep your entire watch history, right? They all do. I think they all do. Dave says, I'm lucky to have the collective to back me and explain things. Yeah, that's the beautiful part about, you know, communicating with your spirit guides. You really can get any answer that you want. That's how I knew like who the vice presidential pick was going to be. You know, it was my guides. So, I mean, it is really sad. But at the same time, you know, I do think 45 has built himself a cult. I do believe these people are brainwashed. I do think it happened to wake people up. Gun violence needs to stop. Even 45 himself said he totally changed his speech at the RNC, changed his rhetoric. So, I mean, that counts for something. Even though he was out like golfing the next day, so I don't know. JT, I have said this a million times. I don't know how else I can say it. I don't know what you guys need from me. Biden is going to be the next president. I don't know how else to say that. You guys keep asking me that in different ways. He's the next president, and Kamala is going to be the first female president. I stand by that. And so far, in all my years of doing this, I have a 100% accuracy rating. So I feel confident. I feel good about this. And some of you I saw mention something about, the whole thing with Judge Cannon. And if you didn't see that video, I did put out a video today. You may want to watch that. It's a short video just about that, about the sensitive documents case. And, it is very, very hopeful. Oh gosh, where was I going with that? Oh no, wait. I was looking at my screen and it went into a commercial. Where was I going with that? I forget where I was going. But with that video, what I will say is that, yes, it was wrong what Judge Cannon did, but ultimately it doesn't change the outcome. He's still going to be found guilty when everything is said and done. Unfortunately, it's after the election, but he's not winning anyways. Yeah, so yeah, Audrey, his response also, Nara Jenna said, I just got blocked by an ad. Isn't that strange? Because as a YouTuber, I set where the ads are. And you guys know I never put ads in the middle of my videos. I don't do that. You actually have to click a box for that. So it's interesting how an ad happened to just come on right then. But so I felt like the audience's reaction was very strange, but my guide said they're brainwashed. It's a cult. I thought his reaction was just as bizarre. All I could think of is when I was in college, I was driving to school one morning. It was the day of my final exams for that semester. And I got rear-ended by another student really, really hard. And I had on a headband and my glasses. I got hit so hard. It blew my headband and my glasses off, right? And when the police officer came and, the ambulance came and they put me on the stretcher, they are the ones that grabbed, like my glasses, my purse. I wasn't thinking about any of that. And here he is asking, he just got shot at and he's asking for shoes. And I was like, okay. And stopping to fist pump it. I'm like, this is a very bizarre reaction. These people are strange. They are crazy. Right? My shoes. Yeah, I don't know if his shoes were already off. Maybe because it was a hot day, his feet were swelling, he took them off, or they just were loose and they came off during the calamity. I really don't know. And the memes where they're showing those golden sneakers that he was hawking, him holding up the golden sneakers, those memes. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. It is said that he has lifts in his shoes, but you know what though? Here's the thing. I don't care what he looks like. It doesn't matter to me what anybody looks like. I don't care that he has a spray tan or whatever. I don't care. What matters to me is what's on the inside. Is he a good person or no? Does he have the country's best interest at heart or just his own personal agenda? I think we know the answer to that, don't we? It's his own personal agenda. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care what anybody looks like. And, and I'll bring up another point too that some of you, may not realize, but it's something that my husband brought up. When you see Biden on stage, or when he's, or say even giving a conference, or he's in the Oval Office or whatever, and they have the lights on him. Whenever he has these bright lights around him and you kind of see him getting kind of squinty, he has bright blue eyes, just like my husband. And a lot of people with blue eyes are very light sensitive. That's one thing. And my husband is not a political person, but he said, he would be the same way in that same setting. He wears sunglasses year round. He actually has backups of backup pairs of sunglasses because, his eyes are so light sensitive. And so I would not be surprised if Biden's eyes are light sensitive because, he's on these stages, he's having, professional lights being pointed at him. So he does get kind of, a little squinty. But that's, I think, why. Yeah, some of you are agreeing. Yeah. I mean, some people blue eyes really do. All right, so let's just we'll end with pulling a few cards for the RNC this week. Anything we should know about the RNC this week? Interesting, I'll show you the cards first. 4 of Cups, Obstacle, 2 of Swords. Okay, so the first 2 cards right off the bat are cards of indecision, being indecisive, not wanting to make choices. We got our Biden card. 4 of Pentacles, Empress. Okay. So, interesting. This tells me the Republican Party is not happy that 45 is the candidate. There was other choices. This is the one that got presented to them. They are not pleased. I think a lot of powers that be would have picked somebody else. But you know what? It's no longer the Republican Party. It's the party of 45 at this point. And so they're going to have a hard time, really just, I think outwardly they're going to be supportive and whatnot. But I think behind closed doors, it's going to be like, oh my God, what do we do with this guy? And they're going to have to make hard decisions, to make him like presentable, palatable to the American public. And they're going to just sit there because they don't have a real agenda, right? Because they can't talk about the whole Project 2025. So what are they going to talk about? Biden this, Biden that. Instead of talking about how to actually improve America, they're going to just sit there and obsess and perseverate over that. They're worried about money. They're worried about getting enough financial backing for 45, interestingly enough. They continue to worry about it. This is one of my 2 cards for the U.S. And so they are really concerned about how to make our country more productive, creative, abundant. They have some really big issues that I think they're going to really struggle with tackling. So you're going to hear their focus be more on President Biden than their actual true agenda. Because they can't talk about their true agenda too much, right? Because that's not very palatable, is it? Nobody wants to hear that. So, yeah, Kath 11 says, yes, they know they will lose. I agree. I think 45 chose Vance because he was the youngest choice. And I think it had little to do with anything else, to be honest with you. I really think it was an age factor. He's 39. He's young. He's vibrant, right? That's what he's looking at. That's how 45 is viewing this. He got somebody who's young, youthful, vibrant, full of energy, to try to spin it kind of back hard onto Biden. I don't think there was any other reason. I don't even think Vance likes, actually we know Vance doesn't like 45. We know he doesn't. So let's end on a high note with a 3-card pull. Ask the universe, what do I need to know right now? I'm just going to take the top 3 cards. This is the Animal Guide Tarot by Radley Valentine. And just what does your gut say? Are you feeling 1, 2, or 3? here we go. Love this. 6 of air. Look at the kitty cat sailing. Annie is doing well, by the way. She's keeping cool. The challenging times are coming to an end. Love that. And you can now breathe a sigh of relief. Let the past go and embrace the happier times ahead. Love that. My number 2 people, the Hermit. Take time for contemplation, to retreat and go within. Be a beacon for others on their path to spiritual enlightenment. Beautiful. Oh, this one's adorable. 4 of Earth, which would be 4 of Pentacles. Love the squirrel. Be cautious about living a life of extremes or seeing things in black and white terms. Consider, for example, whether you're spending too much versus hoarding your wealth, or giving too much emotionally versus building walls that keep people out. So striking some balances in your life is called for right now. So, all right, I thank all of you for joining me tonight. I hope everyone's feeling a little bit better. Take a deep breath. We've got this. We've been through this stuff before. We made it through last time, and we'll make it through again, okay? All right, everybody, have a beautiful evening, and I will see you all in a few days. Bye, guys.